Sometimes when I film my weird satellite dish projects and other radio nonsense, I get helicopters flying over and I make jokes about, oh, they're snooping on me or whatnot. I actually live near a couple airports, so helicopter traffic, even military helicopter traffic, and just general aircraft are not uncommon around here. However, today there is a legitimate, actual FBI spy plane circling my neighborhood. Let's see if we can find him here. It's a little bit hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in. There he is. That is as far as I can zoom in, but we can tell this is an FBI plane, or at least some kind of snooping spook plane, for several reasons. First off, he's been circling the neighborhood for a while here, and you don't see a traffic pattern like that unless they're looking at something on the ground. Secondly, he's got pods or sensors on the bottom, some kind of camera equipment, so definitely not your general average private aviation aircraft. This is some kind of observation craft. I'm hoping I can get a tail number. It's a little hard to see on the camera here. I don't know if it's going to be clear enough to get the registration number. Another reason we can tell this is a government spy plane is that he is not squawking a transponder. He is not showing up on Flight Radar or FlightAware or any of the other aircraft tracking apps. So he doesn't want to be noticed, which is ironic because I notice planes like that that are just circling one area. I'm kind of tuned in to small aircraft growing up off-grid with a lot of bush planes around. I still kind of have an ear for different kinds of planes. I can sometimes recognize different aircraft, or at least different engines, just by their sound in the sky. So when I notice a plane lingering, loitering around an area, I tend to tune in on it. Maybe not everyone does, but he's definitely attracting my attention just by his flight behavior, even though he's trying to not attract attention by not showing up as a bunch of big circles on Flight Radar 24. I've seen those before with surveillance aircraft. They just circle around one area for a while, and you can really tell what they're up to when you look at some of these ADS-B tracking apps. This guy is not doing that. I don't think he's after me by any means. There are plenty of other reasons for government spy planes around here. He could be snooping on protesters, it could be immigration stuff, he could be spying on a journalist, all the usual stuff that the FBI likes to do in their spare time. And whether or not you're okay with that, I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments both ways down in the comments section about what the FBI is doing and whether or not people agree with that. But yeah, we may have to moderate the comments a little bit on this video. Anyway, personally, I think he's a bit of a traffic hazard. He's up there in commercial airspace. Like I said, I've got a bunch of airports around me, so he's up there kind of getting in everyone's way. When I did my drone license, I learned not to do that. I'm not supposed to fly from my house at all here. In fact, there's a jet going over right now. And yes, I'm sure this guy is being somewhat safe and staying in an assigned altitude, and he's probably got permission from air traffic control. I don't actually know how the FBI works, if they bother with any of that stuff, but yeah, it does seem a little unsafe to be just circling around all day with no public transponder going, so nobody else really knows where he is or who he is. Now, this isn't the first time I've noticed a camera-equipped plane like this circling my neighborhood. But I've looked these guys up before, and I found some planes that look very similar, which are recorded to be in use by the FBI and other law enforcement agencies. So I'm not just making this up. This is actually a spy plane, as far as I can tell.
Word comes the FBI has been secretly flying over our homes.
Controversy has the FBI keeping a watchful eye over Michigan skies.
The FBI is operating a fleet of small planes that fly over many cities armed with sophisticated surveillance cameras.
They've gone to great lengths to try and keep this secret.
If he is watching me, all you FBI agents out there, please like and subscribe so at least YouTube gets some engagement. He is going to be probably a little bit interested to see me aiming a camera back at him, but again, I really doubt that they're surveilling me. I don't do anything that exciting. I just have a bunch of satellite dishes that I found in the trash. Honestly, the way his path has been going, I think he's looking at something farther to the west, because I am kind of under one part of his circle, and the center of the circle seems to be over that way a few miles. Yeah, if he's passing directly over me, he's not looking at me. He's looking at somebody off to the left. Yeah, you can really tell there's stuff on the sides and bottom of that aircraft. Sometimes these guys just circle around all day and they basically just record the entire ground under their circle with high-res cameras, and then they can go back later and look at that recording. So if there is a protest, well, after the protesters go home, these guys can look back at the footage and track every one of their cars, track all the cars to their houses, and figure out where each and every protester lives. So another thing these planes can do is run a airborne Stingray or fake cell phone tower site, and that basically tricks people's phones into connecting to the Stingray device instead of an actual cell tower. And then they can do some trickery to kind of drop the encryption, basically make your phone think it's on a 3G or 2G connection, so it's no longer secure, and then they can listen to your phone calls, see who you're calling, capture text messages, all of that good stuff. So
The FBI admits that the planes are equipped with cell site simulators. What those devices do is pretend to be cell phone towers and trick every single phone within range to connect to them. Right. And when they're mounted in an airplane over a city, that's a huge number of phones.
They say you're not a big name science YouTuber until the FBI comes to visit, and I don't think this really counts. I mean, these days getting caught up in a citywide warrantless surveillance of your cell phone is just something that happens to everybody. Something to keep in mind when you're out there making phone calls and texts and going about your daily life. Well, it seems like the feds are listening in too. If you found this video interesting and or you work for sketchy 3-letter agencies, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and as long as we all stay out of trouble and no white vans show up across the street, we'll see you next time.